going into our third R, because you've probably had it happen, as every salesperson who's ever had it happen, where you knock on someone's door and they don't want to talk to you. It doesn't matter how observant you are and how much you try to build a rapport. They're just like, nope, talk to the hand. What do you do?
Yeah, resiliency is really the key to taking care of yourself and ensuring that you can continue the case, right? Because you're right. I've lost track of the number of doors that have been proverbially slammed in my face, right? And although, again, everybody talks to the FBI, you really don't have to talk to the FBI. You know, the other day I was at a Citizens Academy. We have a group of people every once in a while that go through where we teach them about the FBI. They come for a series of weeks and we give them lectures and interactions. And we talk about what the FBI is. And this lady said, well, what happens when you knock on the door, as we said earlier, and they don't want to talk to you? And I say, well, I go down to IHOP, get me a cup of coffee and a pancake, and I figure out what else I'm going to do, right? Because you don't have to talk to me. Now, I got a search warrant, legal cause to be there. Okay, I can be inside your apartment, your house, but even then, you still don't have to talk to me. Mm-hmm. How do I get you to talk to me when you don't want to talk to me? We talked about the rapport, we talked about the relationship. At the end of the day, if you don't, it's not about me. Really, it's not. I've got to really work on making sure that I go back and reassess where am I in this case and how can I find another angle. Maybe it's not this person, maybe it's somebody else. But yeah, you get, told no a number of times. And if you gave up, you give up. You wouldn't solve any cases. Really, to me, resiliency is all about being persistent and not being a jerk about being persistent, but just not giving up, particularly for us trying to make a case.
Yeah. I went to a conference last year that's called Unbound, and they're very much about the persistence. And the thing that I took away from it is, are you the kind of person who, if someone needs help, for example, are you the kind of person that's going to wait for them to raise their hand and say, can you help me, even though you see that they need it? Are you going to just walk by? Or are you the kind of person that no matter how many times they say, no, I don't need your help. No, I don't need your help, even though their bone is sticking out of their leg or something. You have a solution for that and you can help them. Resiliency and persistence is not taking no for an answer in that case, because you know that you can help them. Now in sales, that we hear that all of the time, but it really comes down to, if it's not about you and it's really about the problem that they have and you have the solution, it's almost like a moral obligation to be resilient and not give up, because how else does the world become a better place if everybody just gave up? I think you said you go back to IHOP and you have some pancakes and coffee, which tells me a little bit about you. And finding other people to talk to. And sometimes, have you ever found that it's just, you have to go back and just try a different angle with that same person sometimes? What are some of the other ways that you look at, all right, how do I persist in this to get what needs to be accomplished?
Well, you mentioned it just a few minutes ago, Carol, when you said someone has a problem, you're trying to solve it. Oftentimes, when I talk to somebody, they don't realize they have a problem, or they certainly don't realize the extent of their problem. Mm-hmm. So part of me is trying to find the right words, the right phrases, sometimes the right analogies to trying to solve their problem. Sometimes for us, it's getting them over that hurdle. They know what the right answer is, right? I remember a lady, she stole some money from a bank. She was a bank teller, and I don't know, it might have been about maybe $30,000, $40,000. Not a lot of money, but certainly enough.
Yeah.
And, we did an interview, and now we move into interrogation, which are actually two separate things. In the interview, you and I have a conversation. During the interrogation, I do almost all the talking, right? And so I try to find themes, and that's where the interview is important. That's where the conversation is important when you're talking to somebody, and I'm interested in the books behind you or what's important to you. I'm trying to find the themes that you think are important. Mm-hmm. So I'm talking to her, right? And I'm going through this, why I knew she took the money. And, she started here and all of a sudden, the head drops and the shoulder drops, and she knows she's guilty. And man, then I made a mistake. I had a stack of documents that were bank statements. And I reached over to those stack of documents and I put my hand on them and I said, we'll just say her name was Carol. Carol,
Great.
Carol, these statements prove that you took the money. And right then she set up, what? And she goes, those statements? And I knew then I was lost. And I said, yes, these statements. She said, oh no, those statements don't show anything. And you know what? She was right. You know why I knew she was right? Because I made that up. I, in essence, tried to trick her into doing something. And she called me out and called me out on it. And so it took me another hour and a half. I'd already spent a good hour or so up to that point. It took me an hour and a half to get her back to the point where I solved her problem, where the problem was I needed her to admit it, because in the end, admitting to that crime, while it may sound like a bad thing, was much better for her and her husband, her family, because we can resolve it. And she ended up with a plea deal and that sort of thing versus having to go to trial, right? So when I'm authentic and I'm genuine and I'm doing it the right way, right? I'm trying to solve your problem, and I do it, as I said, because I am trying to solve your problem. Then I don't need to make stuff up, and I don't need to worry about it. But the resiliency of at the end of an hour, looking at her and she's saying, "No, I know this didn't do it." I could have just said, "Well, you're right. You caught me. It's time to go home." I started over again. I found different ways, and I'm convinced that you got to continue to try. And as you said, it's that problem you're trying to solve at the end. Sometimes they don't understand they got a problem, and you got to show it to them. But if you do it in a way that's a win-win, even though it may seem like it's not in your best interest, it really is and can be a win-win situation.
Yeah. I think that the biggest thing to remember, and I was even reminded of myself this recently, was just because you've hit that roadblock or feel like maybe you failed, like you just shared, it's not that you failed, you just haven't figured it out yet. Right. And so you had to go back and figure it out a new way. And that's really what resistance is. It's not that you never fail. Like I've had salespeople and managers, oh, well, I messed this one up, I'll just try better with the next one. It's like, no, it's never too late to be able to, like you did, go back, start over, find a different angle, learn from your mistake, because that's how we all get better.